How's it going, everybody? This is David Hedge with Two Hedges Smash Gaming, and today we're going to be taking a look at Dragoborne Rise to Supremacy. This game is brought to us by Bushiroad, and it's a good mix between Magic the Gathering and Kaijudo, so if you're a big fan of either one of those games, I highly suggest checking this out. Now, in this game, you have three different card types. First off, you have your creature cards, which the creature cards, you have the name of the card, you have this cool dice symbol, I'll go over that in a second. You have the cost of the card, the text box, the attack and defense, and the civilization it belongs to. Now also in the game you have spell cards, and spell cards have the same kind of anatomy as a creature card minus the attack and defense in the bottom. And finally in the game you have what's called banner cards. Now these show which colors or civilizations you're representing throughout the game. And these banners are set out in the banner area of your playmat at the beginning of the game. And the playmat you get in the starter deck as well. Now in this game, those banners will help you produce resources to cast your spells and your creatures. So right off the bat, before the game even starts, you have 3 resources ready to go at your disposal. The setup for this game is very simple. You draw your 5 cards for your hand and you mulligan. With a mulligan, all you do is you take the cards you don't want, put them on the bottom of your deck, draw what you do want, or hopefully you draw what you do want, and then the rest gets shuffled in. Then you take the top card of your deck and put them 2 at a time into your what's called fort area. This fort area, each one of these represents your life points. So effectively you have 6 life points. When these are gone, the game is over. You also have what's called an ambush area, and you have a dragon shield area, which we'll go over that in just a second. Now the gameplay for this is very simple. First you would have the stand step, and the stand step is if something is rested, all you have to do is have it stand. Next you would have your dice step. Yes, I said dice step, and this isn't a board game, but these are so powerful and I'll show you why in a minute. So with the dice step you just roll the dice and then you set them off to the side, and we'll go over that in just a minute. Next you would draw a card from the top of your deck, and then finally you would add a resource to your banner area. Now resources, usually in like Magic the Gathering where the resources are in your deck, or like Force of Will to where it's a separate deck altogether, this deck has something cool with it to where every card is basically a resource. All it does is when you get to the resource part of the turn, you take the top card of your deck, put it in your banner area, and now that as a resource for you to play your spells and your creatures later on in the game. Now that's the beginning of a turn. Then all you have to do now is your main phase, which you play your creatures and your spells. So for example, say if I wanted to play the Gold Leaf Hunter, I would need to have 2 resources. One of them has to be of this civilization so I can play it. So for example, I can rest this one and this banner, and I would play this creature at any fort that I have open. Now a fort can only have 2 creatures on it at one time. If you have a bigger creature that you want to put at a fort but it's already occupied with 2, so for example I have this imp and the elf here, and I want to play this beautiful angel card, and I want to play it here. I'd have to actually sacrifice one of these or discard them to the discard pile and then add her to that fort. Next, same thing for spells. You use the same kind of principle. You use the cost, but one of them has to match the civilization that belongs to. Once the spell's effects taken hold, you just put it into a discard file. Oh, excuse me, pile. Now you do have spells like this, but you're thinking, wait a minute, it doesn't have a cost. Well, that's because some of the spells are what's called ambush spells. And with an ambush spell, you take 2 resources of any color and you put one in your ambush area. Now this is basically setting a trap for anybody that attacks you, and we'll go over that in just a minute. Now, with this, the last thing you do is that you assign your dice, the dice you rolled at the beginning of the turn. Let's say these guys are here, just for the sake of it. So these dice, you can do one of two things with them. You can either assign them as dragon shields to a fort. Now what this does, it basically gives you a 0 attack X defender, where X is the number on the die. So for example, this one here, if I place it in this spot, it's a 0-6 defender, which makes it really hard to get through. Every time it takes damage, you tick it down. Once it takes enough damage to take it below 6, it gets destroyed. Finally, you can also use one of these dice and do what's called a dragon cross, which means you can give that dragon power to a creature, and it gives it a +1/+1 boost in addition to any abilities that it would have. So for example, this little pesky imp I was talking about earlier, if it is crossed with this red die, then he gets an additional +2/+1 in addition to the +1/+1 he would get before. So that makes him a 4/2, or 4/3, which makes him very big to attack and also a hefty defender. Now the attack in this game is very simple. If you're attacking an opponent, like for example this little imp wants to attack, he has several different things that he can go with. He can choose whichever fort that he wants to attack. So let's say, for example here, to give you some prime examples, he's wanting to attack this fort first. Now, since he would attack, he would become rested, and his damage must go through the dragon shield first. Now with this, since he's only a 1, he would only take 1 damage here, and that fort would go down to 5. And that's pretty much it. The imp just pokes the shield. Now let's say this one here, there's no dragon shield, so if he attacks, one of two things can happen. Either the angel here can defend, which is basically you rest her to defend, and then you compare the attack and defense values of each creature. If the attack value is greater than the creature's defense, that creature gets put to the discard pile. So since this imp is definitely a whole lot weaker than the angel, the imp would go to the discard pile. Now, if you did not want to defend, and you wanted to use this ambush, all you have to do is flip it up and do the card's effect. You don't have to pay any cost for it. Now, some ambush cards are also creature cards that can be put onto the fort it's defending or another fort. So it's basically setting up that cool trap to throw your opponent off later in the game. Finally, if a creature is not at a fort, or if the creature is rested and cannot block, then the creature that's attacking that area can destroy one of the barriers. Now when a barrier is destroyed, it just gets taken and put into the discard pile. Now some of the cards have what's called burst, which allows you to play the card immediately without casting the spell, and then it either resolves and goes to the discard pile, or if it's a creature, it gets put into a fort. Gameplay resumes like that until one player no longer has all 6 of their barriers on the forts. Once that happens, the game is over. It's a very simple and easy game to play once you get the rules down to it. If you have any questions, let us know. Let us know in the comments below. If you like this video, definitely like and share it, and subscribe to our channel. Click the little bell to make sure you don't miss a video of everything that we have. We have some cool stuff coming up. So we hope that this helps out a little bit. Dragoborne's only been out for a few short months, but they already have the second set out just in time for the holiday season. So definitely check it out. Once again, this is David Hedge with Two Hedges Smash Gaming, and remember, may you always draw what you need, roll what you can, and hopefully your forts can sustain the next attack. Take care, guys.